That. That's where the true value is at. Good morning everyone and welcome back to the Two-Headed Wolf Gaming channel and Path of Exile 2 as today we continue to work on our Bone Witch. As per usual, I've been farming in between the episodes, gathering a few extra levels, gathering a few pieces of gear that we are going to use in order to take our character to the next level. What you see right now is at the same power level as it was at the end of the last episode, but with a few upgrades we're gonna increase that and then we're gonna be running a couple of maps just to get a feel for what the new power level is like. Until now I managed to gather 10 passive skill points and also I managed to get an Ascendency. But the reason why I needed to stop farming at this point is because my defenses were pretty bad. DPS hasn't increased at all, of course, since I haven't upgraded any of the spells. And you can see that I have 15% armor, 25% evasion, and my resistances are pretty bad. So add all of these together, and it was starting to become really painful to keep going forward. So it was a good point to stop and start recording so that I can upgrade the character and that we can resolve our problems. Since we have a general idea of what we want at the moment from our passive skill tree, let's start by spending our points within it. I opened the active skills panel just so you can see the changes in DPS depending on what choices we make. So we're gonna get these two nodes which add up to 40% increased spell damage and a 5% reduction in cast speed. The reduction in cast speed will hurt for the moment, but the extra damage is worth it. So we're moving from 98 to 108, and that is good. Now we're gonna push this even further with the upgrading gear, so don't worry too much about those numbers. Next I'm aiming for critical exploit, 25% increase in critical hit chance. So we're gonna pick up two intelligent nodes, then I'm going to pick up two nodes, one which gives us critical strike chance and the other critical damage bonus, and then we're gonna get critical exploit. The final 3 points will go towards building our defenses, and what I don't really like at the moment about our energy shield is how slow it recharges. That means that when I'm going around the maps and I'm fighting groups of mobs, in between those groups of mobs, the energy shield does not recharge to its full value. So that makes it almost useless. And that's why we're going to pick up two more intelligent nodes here, and then we're going to get 15% faster start of energy shield recharge. Then I'm going to keep building on this one until we get 40% increased energy shield recharge rate and plus 10 to intelligence, which will increase our mana and our energy shield even further. Let us talk about our Ascendency, and I decided to go with the Blood Mage because in comparison to the Infernalist, it really gives us a lot of options. The Infernalist didn't have anything of value that I was building towards. But with the Blood Mage, we could get increased critical hit chance and critical damage bonus, we could get infinite duration on our curses, we could get spell damage leached as life, sounds really good to me, and 10% of damage as extra physical damage plus extra bleeding effects. Like there's a lot of things that we can do. We will talk about them when the time is right. To begin with, we have only two choices. 3% increased maximum life, and we also get Sanguinemancy. Skills gain a base life cost equal to the base mana cost. This sounds to me that instead of using our mana, we're gonna start using our health. So that should be interesting, but we do get a buff which will help us with that. We get 25% chance to spawn a remnant on killing an enemy. Those are the little souls that raise up from the corpses of the enemy that when collected, with the current buff that we are running with, we received energy shield. In this situation though, it seems like we're getting 65 life, and we can also spawn a remnant on critically hitting a target, no more than once every 2 seconds. So this could be very powerful, especially with the build direction that we are taking, since we're building upon critical hit strikes. This could work really well for us, but I am very curious to see it in action. As far as our active skills go, I already upgraded everything that I could with what I had available. There are two more skills though that I wanna pick up. The first one is Bone Storm, a channeling attack that conjures a swarm of bone spikes in the air. Whenever we release the attack button, they get fired at the enemies and explode. And enemies that get shrapnel lodged into them will take extra damage afterwards. This one also consumes power charges to cause a much larger explosion. And this sounds really powerful. I wonder if this can become our main attack. I think this one sounds better for boss fights, depending on how quickly we conjure those bone spikes in the air. It's clear to me that we will have to keep building on cast speed to try to get those projectiles as quickly as we can, but we will figure it out as we're going forward. The other skill that I want is another curse. Actually, we are going to replace Enfeeble, the Enfeeble curse, with Vulnerability. Curse all targets in an area after a short delay, making hits against them ignore a portion of their armor. Given that we are using a lot of physical damage, reducing the enemy's armor sounds really good to me. For the support gems, we're gonna remove the support gems from our other cards from Enfeeble to Vulnerability. So we're gonna get increased effect, and we're also going to get an increased area of effect. For Bone Storm, we're gonna test it out on the field first, and then we're gonna decide what support gems to provide it with. Now it is time to replace our equipment, and we're actually gonna start with the wand, because you can see Bone Blast is at level 5 right now, because this is a skill that we're getting from the wand, and the only way to upgrade it will be by replacing the wand, replacing the main weapon. So you can see I found a pretty good wand here. Level 7 Bone Blast, 43% increased spell damage, 27% increased spell physical damage, 11% increased critical spell damage bonus, 12% increased cast speed, and plus 13 to intelligence. Let's see, 170 DPS to 209. So we've pretty much doubled the DPS for Bone Blast. Now I should be more powerful on the battlefield. I also have the secondary wand, which I will equip in our secondary weapon set. I don't have any special setup for it at the moment, but I am guessing that going forward at some point we're going to change between having a weapon or a wand that is focused around clearing mobs and have another wand, another weapon set that is focused around killing bosses. That seemed to work really well last time when we played the melee character, and I'd like to keep doing this going forward. I have here another focus, 48% increased spell damage, 25% increased lightning damage, that doesn't affect anything for us unfortunately, and 14% to cold resistance. Still, much better than what I have right now, and we're moving from 209 DPS to 224. That sounds really good. Finally, with our defenses, let's see what we manage to do after we equip all of this equipment. And finally, we're gonna equip a pair of boots that increases our movement speed by 15%. I came to the realization that movement speed is super important, because anytime I'm casting a spell with the witch, she's moving much slower. So if we can get this increased movement speed on all the boots that we're equipping, this should increase our survivability. This should help us avoid more attacks while we are casting spells. It is time to put everything that we've done to the test, and as you can see up here, Life Remnant is an always active buff. This is not something that you can opt out of. When we're using our Bone Blast, which doesn't consume mana, we're not losing any health. However, if we take a look at the vulnerability, for example, this curse, it has the cost of 103 mana and 103 life. So when we're casting it, we're losing both mana and health. So this is going to be something which we'll have to learn how to manage, either by decreasing the cost of our spells, that could be a solution, increasing our health regeneration, try to get as much critical hit chances as possible so that we can summon life remnants often. There's a lot of choices that we could do, but we're gonna have to pay attention to it. We're gonna have to focus on building some better defenses, I think, in the short term, in order to make sure that we survive well enough for the long term. We also have the Bone Storm. As you can see, we're moving quite slow, but we're conjuring these shards, which we can fire at the enemy. It is a very slow building spell. Once again, it feels like one of those spells that you need to have some minions with you in order to distract the enemy.
Splinters of bone.
what I want to try out is to upgrade our Bone Storm. This is something which we haven't upgraded yet. So I am looking at it and thinking, let's try to throw in some increased cast speed. We're moving from 220 DPS to 275, that sounds great. And we're gonna use a support gem on Bone Storm to get... There's a piercing ability somewhere here, Pierce. Projectile from supported skills pierce an enemy, so they go through the first enemy and hit the enemies at the back. But projectiles from the supported skills deal 30% less damage if they pierce an enemy. So over here, currency, we'll pick this one up. And we're gonna say on Bone Storm, give you the extra slot. And we're gonna take Brutality from an Earth, and we're gonna throw it here. 372 DPS. That sounds good to me. Let's see, what can I upgrade here? Let's upgrade Bone Cage. Okay, that is better. That definitely feels better. We need to conjure a lot of it. But once we do... Yeah, once we've gathered enough of these shards, things are much easier. I think I shouldn't hurry too much with it at the moment. I think the main thing that I should be paying attention to at the moment is just to go through the game. Until we can get those other support gems going forward, if we can get some support gems at level 2, I am sure that we will find some really powerful effects for this skill. Let's see how we deal with getting surrounded. This is going to be interesting.
Of course, they're alive. Splinters of bone.
Yep, let's do this. And you can see how many critical strikes we're doing because of the amount of orbs that would get summoned, sanguine orbs, or remnants, however they're called. Yeah, this is not super powerful yet. The piercing does not have enough value to go through multiple rounds of enemies. The cage seems pretty good, like if I was to use Bone Blast. This could also be powerful, but we have to remember that the DPS for it is much lower. So it's not as impressive as it might seem at first. Time to put this to the test against the boss. Oh! Oh yes. That is what we want. Let's put a curse on him. So as we're doing this, he's taking even more damage. But look at that. Nice. This will definitely be our main boss killer. And I guess the amount of critical strike chance really helps here. If I could get some life leech, I think that would be super valuable. This makes me super happy and super excited about what we could do with it.
A gift from fate.
This is going to be awesome. So I was looking through the shops and I found this wand which gives us level 8 power siphon, 28% chance to grant an additional power charge on call. That's how we could get those extra explosions, so this might be the type of wand that we want to equip if we want to clear mobs using the Bone Storm skill. I am going to buy it. I'm not going to test it now, I might test it later, but this might be the way to go. Somehow I'm not 100% sure that this is what I want. I would like those explosions a lot more as when fighting bosses, or I would like to find ways to get power charges in a different way than actually using a basic attack. Because in this situation we would have to use Power Siphon first, so we would have to use this as a basic skill, and then we would have to go towards Bone Storm. And somehow that doesn't sound appealing to me, but it really depends, I guess, on what the effect is. So I equipped the Siphoning Wand, and whenever we're attacking the enemy with our normal attacks, at some point we're gonna see on top of them like this blue shard. That means that we can do the Power Siphon, and we can take that power charge away from them. I think we can combine this. I think we can make this one work in a way. As you can see, this is the moment where we can actually call the enemy and take a power charge from them. And then when we're using the bone shards, we're gonna get those explosions. This is not bad. It's not great either. I really need to find a better combination of keys to make the whole experience smoother. And I definitely need ways in which I can generate a lot more power charges, because this is not super efficient in comparison to some other AoEs.
Still lives. For now.
One of the things that I have to remember is to aim for his hands, right? Yeah, that's a lot of damage if we aim it properly. I am not used to fighting the Titan at this distance. I only fought him in melee, so this is a very new experience for me. But it seems like we're doing well on damage as long as we're aiming for, yeah, for his hands more than anything else. If we hit at the body, we don't get any damage. As you can see there, like we're missing certain points. And I'm guessing that is to prevent ranged fighters getting some free shots on the Titan when he's just preparing to attack. I think that might be the thinking. But either way, it's super annoying. And I think what I hate the most about this attack with the Conjuring is that because it is so slow, it takes a lot of preparation and it can get easily interrupted. And one of those swords attack could kill me so easily. Come on. Keep attacking. Oh. Let's do the bone cage. Make sure we keep these mines into place. Yeah, we've got this. As far as time goes, this was a lot faster than any character, any melee character I've played before. But as far as how safe I feel, it was definitely easier on a melee character.
And now mine.
That is going to have to be it for today. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. It was a very interesting one where it changed the direction of our build, and definitely in a good direction. I'm really curious to see how it will work going forward. I'm sure that once we get some support gems at level 2, maybe once I get some gear with higher cast speed, I think if we add all of these elements together, it can turn into something very beautiful. Just at the top of my head, I have this belief that it's going to be super cool. But we will have to see it in action. Until next time, I'll start farming. I thank you very much for watching, thank you very much for your support, and I wish you all to have a wonderful day.